We are back here at It's Electric, and now we are joined by Solomon Sideg and Rabe from Kabul Dreams, who are sitting on the couch here, and you guys just joined us from Oakland, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to It's Electric. Awesome to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Lots of stuff to talk about, and I'm really excited that the fact that you guys are here. I love your music. Everybody I play your music for loves your music. We love the film. Before we get to your past and that whole thing, like Oakland, how do you land in Oakland?
The Bay Area, I think I always say to my friends, Bay Area is the best place for brown people. And so we happen to be here. And particularly Oakland, I think it's just, it by default that we found a rehearsing place there, and then the studio that we recorded part of our album.
Was it a part of a plan to end up in Oakland, or was it something that happened very impulsively?
The Oakland part happened really impulsively. Like, I mean, we know the history of Oakland and Berkeley area, like, you know, the Gilman, which we went a couple of weeks ago and we loved it. And I don't know why it took us so long to go there, since we've been here for a very long time. Like,
it's the East Bay. Hey, listen, our story in Metallica is no different. I mean, we landed in El Cerrito.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, 2 BART stops north. And so it's all, I mean, it's part of our story too. Let's hear a little bit about your background. Obviously, what we talked about on the first episode was that you guys are from Afghanistan. And like I said in my intro before, your music speaks for itself and is so timeless and so unique, but you add the story of Afghanistan, the refugee part, coming to Oakland, the whole thing. You started in Afghanistan, then you ended up having to leave because of the Taliban rule. You went to different countries, and then you came back in 2007 when the Taliban fell. And then tell me a little bit about each of your, I know you went to Uzbekistan, you went to Pakistan, I think.
So the three of us were born in Afghanistan and in Kabul, actually. And then during the Taliban times, we were, me and Suleiman, we were outside. So I was in Pakistan with my family. So many other Afghans were as well. Rabi was born and raised in Kabul. He never went outside. So, but we so he was there during the Taliban as well. Yeah. So we came back in different times. I came back around 2003. Suleiman came back in 2007. That's how we met, through some mutual friends. And he was looking for people who are musicians, and I was just playing music with some other people. And, we started working together. That's how it started, basically.
You're in Uzbekistan, you're in Pakistan, you're in Kabul itself. How do you get music? What's your sources? Is it cassette tapes? Is it radio? Is it bootlegging, underground trading? How what's your access to music?
I think for me, it was a transition right from cassette to CDs, and then we had some cassettes in the beginning, and then the CDs start like going around, and those DVDs that can contain like 500 or 300 songs, and all the basically catalog is in there. When I went to children's music school, they normally teach you like classical instruments, but my friend introduced me Sex Pistols and Nirvana, and then that's how everything started, I guess. And for me particularly, like bands like Nirvana really helped me out to find my identity totally irrelevantly. I didn't know English back then. I didn't know the lyrics. I always remember that I was listening to the song called Rape Me by Nirvana, and my brother, and I was singing out loud on my headphones, and he came and hit on my head. I was like, do you know what you're talking about? I was like, no idea, but the riff is good. I think even before the lyrics and everything.
The emotion, right?
The emotion, yeah. And I think the riff got me. That's the thing that really I started listening to rock and roll and everything, the rhythm and everything. Before I even knew what they're talking about lyrically, didn't have any interest for a very long time until I started, maybe I have to write something about,
Were there any other rock bands that were inspiring you guys to form a band? I mean, you talk about Sex Pistols, Nirvana, and so on, but was there anything local?
In Pakistan, I kind of witnessed sort of the emergence of a rock scene, and they have a sort of what I would say more fusion of rock music with some traditional and some Sufi music, which is more mystical poetry. And I used to go to some of those shows, and they incorporated this style of music with that traditional stuff. And that's kind of, it was the start, like in the mid-90s, basically. And I was in high school, so I got to be exposed to all of that. That's how I started to like listening to other bands that are internationally known for that style, and that's how I came across different bands like you guys.
Back in the days, they had source of music, like they could get access to CDs and DVDs or cassette tapes. But in Afghanistan, the whole music scene was dead. There was nothing, no radio, no TV, nothing, no music. So I started listening to music after 2007, to rock music basically, and I didn't know the lyrics, of course. I didn't know English. I didn't know the type of music, but I loved the emotion, the way they're playing, and especially the drumming part. That's why I became a drummer. I was like, damn, they're playing hard. I want to play like that. So yeah, and then on 2004, my father enrolled me to music school. So that's the journey.
In Kabul itself.
In Kabul, yeah.
Does it exist only on the fringes, or is it? I mean, do you have to seek it out?
There wasn't internet access back in the days, so there were like a couple shops selling flowers, but they were selling like videos and music, so we could get access to music and movies that way. That only they knew their customer, but if the regular people go, it's a flower shop.
And what about instruments?
No
Was there
instruments.
there's no access to instruments either?
We had a lot of challenges of getting instruments. Like both of us didn't have guitars or amps. Like I waited for my bass amp like maybe for a year.
And got it shipped to Afghanistan?
Yeah, through some friends who work for the international forces, and they had connections in France, and it actually was shipped from France. So it was really hard to get those things, and then we got to travel a little bit. So every time we travel, we make sure like we buy stuff.
With my guitar, my brother was a student in Canada, and for a short amount of time back then, and then he had a part-time job, and he got this Fender Telecaster made in Mexico for me. It took us 7 months to figure out how to bring it to Kabul, and which didn't happen. And then he sent it to US to a family member, and the family member happens to be like travel, and then he forgot, so that stayed in his house for a long time, and then we found someone else to bring it, and then we had to pay for it, and then the whole circle, it cost more than the guitar in even a very long time. And I think that makes you also appreciate, I guess, what you have in a way.
You appreciate your instrument more.
Anybody out there listening who just, wander down to their local music store and play the 7,000 guitars that are hanging on the walls, just put it all in perspective here for 1 second. How lucky you are.
Like, don't ever that they don't have the right colour
Exactly.
strap at your local guitar centre.
Exactly.
You can off.
The customer service was horrible. I was
Right.
like, that's a very American thing we found out, like the customer service. Like for me, the cultural shock when we moved to America is the Guitar Center, the most country. Like I went to Phoenix, as I said in the beginning, and my friend, he's like, have you been to Guitar Center? I was like, what is it? What is Guitar Center? Like it's like a shopping center. We're coming from the perspective, and then he's like, let me take you, and it's like endless section of guitars that I've only watched the videos on YouTube in a way, or the pictures on my wallpaper of my computer, maybe laptop, and then you get to grab it, and then it's this, I don't know, like some signature guitar which is like $4,000-$5,000, and then you look on your right and there is like endless like section of amplifiers that basically you go. I was like, no, this is insane. Another thing that really interesting, that when we walked in, they gave us free picks.
Right.
Who gives you free stuff? Like it doesn't really often happen to
Somebody
us.
that wants you to come back.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about when you started. So you're back from Pakistan, you're back from Uzbekistan. It's 2007. There must have been a new sense of hope and, obviously freedom in the air. How do you even start a band in that kind of environment?
After 2002, a lot of things changed in Afghanistan, especially in big cities and especially in Kabul, because it was the center and all the international forces were there, the aid agencies and whatnot. So the environment was much better, especially for people who were into arts and music and other stuff. So that was perfect timing for us returning and sort of being there at that time. And we saw a lot of people, like the music school, for example, was going through a huge renovation when Rabi was still in school.
When we started playing, I met him and our ex-drummer Mushtaba when they were working together, making like TV promotions and radio promotions. And I joined them. I keep going to the studio, and I told them, this is what I do. I want to play one of my songs that I wrote, and then this is what I do, and I think this is what I can do only in a way that like I'm not like as educated as to play like Afghan traditional music. And back then, Sadiq used to play piano and the violin, which he still does, but that's his main instrument. And one day, me and Mujtaba, we started just rehearsing. He had a drum set, and I had this old electric guitar, not even mine. It was just in the studio. No one really cared about it. I was like, okay, let me grab it. It's really noisy. I was like, great, that's what I exactly wanted. So since I don't have a distortions or anything, and this little tiny amp that you have to put on max, and that gives you additional overdrive, which is like great. And we start practicing, and he came down. He's like, what are you guys doing? I was like, yeah, we're just playing one of my songs. And I was like, do you want to play bass? Because I've heard like people that play violin happens to be the bass players. He's like, yeah, but I don't know how to play. We found the bass guitar from somebody else, really crappy one. And then we started like, I was like, it's basically you play 2-3 notes, boom, 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 in the very beginning. And then he learned it so fast. I was like, he's the kind of person that if you give him an instrument, any kind of random instrument, and lock him in the room for like a month and come back and he's just playing around. I was like, how did it happen? I would always like tell him that one day I'm going to give you a Rickenbacker.
Oh, yeah.
Which we end up...
Still gets me emotional.
You bought him a Rickenbacker for Christmas.
He just walked in. He's like, called me. Are you at home? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, I'm coming. And then he walked in with a case. I'm like, what's going on? He just get okay. Remember I told you. I'm like, well, okay. So yeah,
that's awesome. When I was a kid growing up, also obviously Lemmy from Motorhead had a Rickenbacker. Geddy Lee, they looked so special and unique, and it was like the ultimate bass instrument, wasn't it?
It is.
It's awesome.
And the sound and the tone of it, like we didn't want it really bassy, and then it took you again, build that sound in your head, and then once we got to America, I was like, oh, this is an opportunity anyway. Like you get to do whatever you want. You get to pick your instrument. Yes, it costs. You have to work for it, obviously, but in the end, you can make it happen.
It's accessible, basically.
The accessibility is, I guess, very important to us, and that's what happened. And then we stopped playing back home again, in Kabul, and then we would move from one rehearsal room to another every other month, and then we actually became really good at soundproofing the rooms because we keep doing it everywhere, and because you can't interrupt the neighborhood. And we got a lot of followers anyway, but a lot of people kind of really didn't like it what we did, or didn't quite understand in the beginning, because you have to explain to them. They would come, and honest to God, we were not really good in the beginning either, I guess.
Were you actually playing shows at this time? Was there an infrastructure to play shows in clubs or parties or gatherings?
There are no clubs there or that kind of scene at all. So people hang out in smaller venues like restaurants and other, but mostly the music played there is like traditional music. So we had to go and look for a place where we could actually get younger people together and
so
play.
They would more come to you.
Yeah, exactly.
In that sense, yeah.
And the first gig we actually played in front of like a huge Afghan audience was in a university. A lot of students showed up, and we were so nervous because we were like, okay, well, how are they going to react? They've never listened to this kind of music live, and but it went really well, and we started like doing more of that.
I think that was a game changer, actually.
It was really.
What year was that?
It's a 2009. At that university, that was a kind of a first time playing for the local people, the young people, and the reaction was really important to us. Like, either we're going to continue or not, because you have to be very accurate about what you're doing. And no, people actually loved it, and right. Because generally Afghan people are like back home, they love music, they love art a lot, and you can't take it away from them. And then that show was really important to us because we saw people liking it, and after the show they came down. They're like, I don't know what did you do, because there are only 3 people in big like stage, and there's nothing, and there's like a loud music coming out. Like, they didn't care about anything else, but they just wanted to have fun, I guess.
You were getting followers and people that were liking you. Was there also the opposite of that? Were there people that were against you or trying to stop you from performing or trying to stop you from growing?
It actually happened pretty frequently, and sometimes we just had to go low profile. We would play some places and then not play, or even like practice, or not even go to rehearsal room for a month or a week. It depends on the level of the threat, because that's how you have to cooperate. You can go, you do have an option of like quitting. That's why we don't say that we did something really great or it's not heroic, because you always have an option of leaving it. But but you can't in a way. It's like there's a certain amount of threat in Afghanistan for every citizen that lives. The morning you wake up, you drive to work, explosion happens, and you are dead, and that's the reality.
Did you find yourself holding back in terms of things that you wanted to write about? Was there any kind of self-censorship in there?
There was, for sure. And also, I think we grew up in a way, and we start like traveling with the band to play some, we played in Estonia, in Turkey, and in Europe, and then that opened up our mind in a way. And then, and also we're not 18 that we used to be I'm not 18 anymore, so the subject kind of changes. That anger actually, it grows gradually, and then you start questioning a lot of things, and when you don't find the answer, and then I guess that's what happens, that you try to express yourself. And when we came to America, I think one of the things that I literally found out, the total freedom that now I can do like everything I want.
When you came here, did you know you weren't going back?
Yes, we did know that we were not going back again.
Have you been back since?
No.
I think the whole thing was gradual, because in the beginning when we started, we were super excited about what we were doing, and we did a lot of good things, like played a lot of good shows, and sort of like were part of a few people that created a scene, and we started having following. And I remember the first days we brought some of our music that we recorded to the radio stations that were local, and they wouldn't play it because they were like, this doesn't fit any category. And lots of things were changing. So in a few years, this kind of music from other countries became more popular, and we also got a little more popular, and some of the TV stations would invite us to play some shows on TV and so on. So that kind of gave us a lot of exposure to the public. So people would recognize us on the streets and so on. And some people would show up after our shows and not being happy about what we do and label us in different ways, like you're bringing American ways and whatnot. But we were just playing music, and the kind of music we like. And even I remember in one radio interview back home, somebody called in and asked like, oh, you guys think you can replace Afghan music and bring American music? We're like, no, we love Afghan music. We listen to it all the time. It's like in our blood, basically. We're just giving people this different option, and this is another style of music like everywhere else in the world. So it was very gradual. And then that's when our families it got to a point where our families were like, you guys need to leave because it's not safe
So they were
anymore.
encouraging you.
Pretty much. Sometimes I feel bad that they had to put up with us.
But that's your family. They must have seen this and been proud as well.
But they are.
They must have been very proud that you're expressing yourselves, and they must have been like, hey, you got to do it.
My dad never been to my show until the very last show that we played in Kabul before we left. Not intentionally, though. He was busy and he had to do some stuff, and he also works, and then he got to see that. I'm happy that he did. But in the beginning, he would also say that, okay, it's a temporary thing. I'm waiting until you go back to school, and then,
When I reached out a couple, 3-4 months ago, I knew there was another record coming. You sent me Brain Drain, and the other song was Ghosts, which also was very immediate. Tell me a little bit about the track, both musically, lyrically. I mean, obviously, I hear the influences you talk about, Nirvana, Sex Pistols. I hear a little bit of Oasis, some Britpop.
The inspirations were exact those bands that you've mentioned. Lyrically, I think it was that anger again that came, and then I discovered another way of writing a music, like finishing lyrics at once overnight, because I was struggling in the beginning to do it, but now I'm very comfortable. Like it kind of like it keeps happening, and I think that was one of the main things. And then, one of the venues in back home that we played multiple times, it's a cultural center, got blown up basically by a suicide attack, and then we were here, and then that created the idea of the brain drain for me, that you get really emotional, because more than one actually places that we used to hang out, we used to play or just go to visit our friends or just sit down and eat, got closed down or shut down because of the constant explosions. That's the main inspiration for the brain drain, for the lyrics of it. You really get enough is enough, you say that, but it's, I guess,
Right.
it keeps bothering you.
Stop killing us, you motherfucker.
Absolutely.
All right.
Do you still feel that even today, tomorrow, I mean, it's still do you feel you're decompressing still from all those experiences, and that do you ever wake up and think, my God, I'd never thought about this. I'd never seen what happened or what we lived through from this perspective. And is that still happening? Is that still a process that's happening?
It's constant. It's really constant. Estonia was a really great example. There was a huge explosion, and I also used to do like photography. And me and my friend, we were on the scene, and then we left right before we even didn't leave, like fully in a way. The explosion happened, and then the way we left the scene was actually like, I kind of got like tired of that thing, and I said, let's leave. It wasn't even planned. And then after a few days of that explosion that happened and we left there, we went to Estonia, and I'm in this really nice hotel, like sitting. That was one of the shocking things for me. I was like, I could have been dead a couple days ago, but now I'm here in Estonia, and tomorrow I have a really nice gig to play.
So your synapses start working in a different way.
I think it never stops being different, because now we might be out of country, but our family is there. But that's still our country. We're still Afghans. You have friends, even you have like memories. It's constant pain in a way, but you have to just cooperate with it.
I think we all had experiences where we missed these attacks by a couple of minutes. So when we were there, what is significant is that, at least for me personally, I was like, another day, whatever. And then when we came here is when it started to sort of like, as you were saying, reflect in your head that, okay. And especially when you see on the news like something happened, and if it's in the area where people there, I would reach out to friends and family. You guys okay? Yeah. That's when you realize like, oh, it's like so hard when you're away, because you're like worried about everyone, and something could have happened to anyone that you know.
Is there a sense of guilt about being away? I mean, do you...
Not really. I wouldn't say it's a sense of guilt. It's more like you actually realize how much at risk you were there.
Right.
But when you're there, you don't realize that. You just feel
do you become numb to it?
Yeah.
You do,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Totally.
If you're inside the fire, I guess it's, you don't feel the pain, or you don't feel the hotness. But once you're outside, you're watching what's happening, and you say, oh, look at them. I was like, well, I was actually there until a couple years ago.
When you travel around, you play shows, do you feel that you have a responsibility to your origins and to your country and to your roots to bring that message to the world? Or do you feel that it's parallel to the music, or do you feel that it's more if somebody asks? You don't seem overly preachy. You let the music be the primary thing, and obviously the music is potent enough to do basically all the talking. What's your relationship with that balance?
That's actually a really good point, that we constantly have this fight with the media, especially when we were there. That's why we have this love-hate relationship with them, because they want to do CNN or all those like big New York Times comes down and then, I want to interview you guys. I was like, awesome. But the questions are 95% of the questions are actually about how would Taliban think,
Right.
or
It's about
about you.
it's about that.
everything
The
you do.
punchlines are, I
Totally.
had the interview with Rolling Stones India was
Oh yeah.
over the phone, 2.5 hours, back and forth questions. And the very last question she asked me, is women allowed on your show? I said, yeah, absolutely. That became a punchline of the headline of the whole article.
The
Said
story.
women are also allowed to be in the show. I was like, but that wasn't the point. Like,
You got pull quoted.
yeah, like, yes, it is. But how about the 2.5 hours that we keep talking about? That's one of the things that we try to push the music in a way, because we're an artist in the first place, in the band at least. Individually, we might be different people. We have different points of views about like a lot of things, or we do share. But we don't want to forget why we end up also coming to America. Why, like, what was the band's goal? What we wanted to do?
What was the band's goal?
Just, first of all, get out of where you were musically. It wasn't really good for you, and it was kind of killing what you even achieved, or you have, or you earned anyway. And also to look for a different audience, because there is no place, there's no locations to play. We've played every single possible place in Kabul, including even on the streets, and there is nothing left to do then.
Well, I can only imagine the frustration of of trying to push the music first. The good thing, and as you know, we're big fans of yours here on It's Electric. But what's next? The record came out in February.
So we have a couple of gigs lined up here, and in summer we're planning to play 2 shows in Portugal. It's part of a festival we're going to.
What's the balance of when you on social media? Is it all over the world? Is it mostly North America? Is it a lot from Central Asia and from back in your own part of the world, or is it sort of evenly spread out? You mentioned Estonia, Portugal. I mean, we cover a lot of geographical territory here.
For some reason, Germany, we have interesting followers, especially if you see the statistics. I think it's switching in a way to North America because we are here and we are doing more shows and we're doing more outreach in a way. And a lot of like press that we get also starting from the local gives us the state and then how it's expanding. And we're excited about the whole thing, you know.
There's also the movie, Radio Dreams, which obviously is you have a significant link to, and obviously we've seen the movies. There's even one of us that's in the movie. Metallica was obviously written into the movie, into the script. When it showed up in my inbox a couple years ago, it came out of complete left field through a producer friend here in San Francisco. Peter Kaufman said, this showed up, this is interesting, it's independent, it looks completely unique and has again this international flavor that I certainly love and Metallica loves and appreciates. Before we talk about the movie itself, how did this thing come to life?
So coincidental, because when we moved here, we did an interview after our show in Austin with someone for NPR. And that lady introduced us to a friend of hers who said, like, oh, I have a friend who can help you with some gigs here and organize some stuff for you. And she does this kind of stuff. So we met her, and then we became friends, and she arranged a show for us here locally in San Francisco, and we played. And then after a while, she reached out. She's like, I need to talk to you guys about something, but I can't say it on the phone. I have to come and explain. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, she was so excited.
Secret,
yeah,
okay.
So excited about it. More excited. So she came over and explained the whole thing, and we were like, okay, what is it about? And first she said it's a movie and everything, but then
but she was a representative of the director.
She just
Bob
was a
Jalali.
She
no
was just a friend.
of
Okay.
the producer of the film.
Of the producer.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
So first we were like, okay, we need to see the script and we'll think about it. Like, we don't want to be part of anything that is like sort of manipulating our story and so on. And we're kind of sensitive about that, always been. But then she was like, but then Metallica is part of it, and actually Lars is going to be in the film. We're like, okay, we're in. Let's talk to the director.
Wait a minute. I agreed to be in the film because you guys were in the
That's
film.
the bit I was going to say. What's the timing of these
Right, yeah.
of these dovetails?
Well, we better sit
Well,
down and
it's,
get,
very
we
good.
better sit down and get our timelines together here. But tell me, I mean, Babak Jalali, who's the director and I believe the co-writer, obviously. Did you know him before the film? Is he somebody that you knew about
No,
as
not at all.
as an artist before? So
Never heard of him.
okay,
And then we had a couple Skype meetings because he's based off of London, but the producer Marjana Muqimi, she's based in the Bay, and
right.
that's why it was kind of easy to communicate with her. And then we set the Skype meeting to explain everything, to walk through, because we're playing our own role. We're Kabul Dreams.
Right.
It's us.
Was it the fulfillment of a dream?
Oh, it was. I mean, absolutely, it was.
So
Well, you're making
'cause
me
you
blush now.
well, you
Hang
can't
on.
you can't ask this. I know you
Well,
can't ask this question because
the-
you would feel.
the
But
thing
I
that-
can. So
With
explain.
when Nazi, our friend, that when she said I should come down to talk to you about that, she said, do you guys want to be in the movie? I was like, we just came to US after like 7 months. We don't want to jump into every opportunity to make it happen, and we're not actors. We're very not even insecure. We don't know anything about like acting. They're like, what? How about the Lars from Metallica? We are in. I don't even. I remember we didn't even let her finish her sentence. I was like,
Let's
Just,
talk
you know,
to
just-
Babak.
when is the
what we-
meeting? Like, let's go for it. It's just because, just for the sake of meeting Lars, and that's how it is. Because we still do remember our really shitty rehearsal room, sitting there and trying to play like Fuel or something, like do some stuff, and our drummer would play like Lars's part, and I was like, this is just dream come true. You can't. It's very surreal because from especially where we're coming from, happen to be in San Francisco, and then we're hitting a good milestones anyway. We're in the best city again, for brown people, and then the gods of rock and roll. So everything is working out for us.
Hey, just remember, all 5 of us are immigrants at some level to this country.
No, I'm going to ask you about that in the mix. It's a great point, and I agree with you on the best city for brown people bit. But one question I do have, the further blushing. I mean, what was the first Metallica song you remember jamming
Can I go to the bathroom? Is that
No, you have to stay and listen.
My bathroom cue. Come on.
What was the first song that you
Feel.
jammed? Feel was the first one.
And the first good album that I've heard from every perspective is the Saint Anger. That's our go-to while mixing. The snare and everything. I talk pretty much on every rehearsal to the guys. They're like,
I think that's the first song I heard. Saint Anger.
The way it's mixed, it's mastered. The snare, I think in early 2000s, they opened up a lot of ways for other bands about being open-minded, because all the Metallica albums sounded differently. But the Saint Anger had different twist in terms of mixing and production.
That it did. Let's confirm that for everybody out there. And I do appreciate, and listen, thank you for all the love that you always throw in Metallica's direction. I appreciate it more than...
It is genuine. It's like we grew up with it.
And it's
so
very technical too.
yeah.
It's not only that aspect of it. It's
Yeah.
very technical. Technicality on that album, I can't get over it, really.
Well, thank you. Why don't we turn the spotlight right back to you? Thank you for coming. And anybody out there listening, if you see Couple Dreams playing anywhere close to where you are, drop what you're doing and go spend time with them. They are definitely worth it. Thank you so much to Couple Dreams for joining us here in the studio.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And we will definitely cross paths again, not soon enough.